Welcome, friends and family, to another episode of the Backdoor Cut Show. Thanks for following along with us on Periscope on the underscore Barnburner Twitter account. And today we're going to talk about the Grizzlies, fresh off their longest win streak in a pretty long time, falling on MLK Day to the Pelicans in a disappointing game, but it was a good win streak that we had going. That was fun. But I am Zach. You can find me on Twitter at BarnBurnerBro. Today with me I have Mason and Sam. And how are you guys doing?
Doing well, man. It's a little chilly in California. It's in the 50s, but other than that, I'm doing well. What's up, Sam?
Hey man, I'm good. Things are going well. Been in the film room, kind of rewatching all the Oscar movies, and we'll probably do a podcast on predictions of what we expect to happen in some of the bigger categories. So, like the theater and college hoops guys say, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. You need to get back in the film room and do your research, get ahead of the game, and that way on game day you're prepared. You're ready to go.
Speaking of theater and college hoops, that's another podcast on the Barnburner Podcast Network, which is where you can find the Backdoor Cut Show with what you're listening to currently. And you can subscribe to that on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, all those cool places. All right, guys, let's jump in. Last week, Grizzlies played 3 games since we last talked, I should say. Starting with the Rockets. Mason, what were your takeaways from that game?
Oh, well, the main takeaway is there was like 5 Ja Morant viral moments. The first being when Harden was guarding him and kind of backed off of him, and Ja pulled a 3, runs down the court yelling, "You better tell that motherfucker about me." As if James Harden doesn't know who Ja Morant is. So that was the first moment that went viral. Then we had the pass where Crowder tried to throw a oop to Ja, and Ja couldn't quite convert it in the dunk. Hit Jaren flying down the lane for a left-handed tomahawk jam. Then, of course, Ja connected on an oop from Jay, which went viral. And then to close the game out, Ja hit Harden with a step back, some of his own medicine, just as kind of the dagger. I think that's when Pete hit the hammer nail coffin, "This baby's over." Ja finished that game with 26, 8, and 5 on 10 of 11 shooting. Just like a maestro performance. That's one of those games when the Chris Paul comparisons really, you're like, damn, but like he does kind of play like Chris Paul. And then James Harden, he had 41 for the Rockets, but he was only 13 to 37 shooting. So anytime that happens, I think you just like that's a win for us. 13 to 37 from their star player, you'll take that all day. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention our boy Dilly Buckets, who had 24 points in this game and just kept his streak of when he scores 20 plus in the Grizzlies win. Unfortunately, it came to an end Monday, but we'll get to that later on. So that was the Rockets game. Just a nice win. Houston was up 37-32 at the end of the first, and the young Grizz just controlled it pretty much from there and answered every run that Houston tried to make. So that was the Rockets game. Then we had Cleveland on Friday, I believe.
Yeah, big game Friday. We have a situation where we had the Murray State fans coming to town. You know, we have the Grizzlies had celebrated an evening where they had a fan night for Ja's alma mater, which is the Murray State College, the Racers. So it's a small kind of mid-major school, and they had four. Well, I think there was 1,200 fans that came in at least, and they kind of like adopted one of the sections in the lower bowl, actually right by where I sat. So they were super pumped the whole time, and they were having a really good time. I think a lot of them, haven't been to many NBA games, I have to imagine, but they came in town to see their boy. A couple things apparent, like this kid has just a weird following, unlike probably any of the Grizzlies players we've ever had. He's got sort of a cult-like following, and any place he plays or any group of people he's around just continue to follow his career almost cult-like. They really do follow him throughout, and they want to, they sort of adopted the Grizzlies now. We have this entire new fan base in Kentucky. So those fans were awesome, and that was really cool to see. The game itself was really exciting. Ja so far has had a couple of moments where he's had like some near highlight moments. We've seen these situations where he's like had a crazy almost dunk. He jumped over Kevin Love in the previous meeting. He's nearly finished a couple dunks that would have shut NBA Twitter down. But in this game, we actually saw a dunk finally finished that I think was kind of the one we've been waiting on. I mean, I guess the next thing we're waiting on is him to finish something like this over someone, a big man. But this was a kind of a classic situation where anytime when you're watching the Grizzlies these days, you see us on the fast break and you see anyone but Ja with the ball, you always look for where Ja is. And there's a 90% chance he's streaking down the sideline and looking for the backdoor cut. Shout out Backdoor Cut. I'm sure he's a big fan. And this situation, it was Jay Crowder had the ball, on a fast break, and Ja crept up down the baseline and jumped up, and Jay delivered a pass that not a lot of guards could go get, but this isn't just any guard. And Ja goes up, and he has recently kind of been going up with two hands just to make sure he doesn't make a fool of himself. And he's one of those guys I think that would rather finish the play and get the points than be showy. Although he likes to be showy too, but in this situation he caught it with one hand purposely and tomahawked that hoe down, and it was something that brought the entire stadium to their feet. It was exactly what the Murray State fans had come to see, both to support their boy and then also to see something like that, which they saw regularly and at Murray State. So that was a cool little moment. The game itself was actually closer than we wanted it to be. It was a situation where Cleveland, terrible team, like a 12-win team, I believe, entering this game. They're kind of one of the bottom feeders of the league, and they've just been through a bunch of stuff. Kevin Love, notably kind of freaking out about being there and not liking it and throwing a temper tantrum on the court, which was something to behold. Colin Sexton went off, and this is actually a pretty close game. But like Chris Harrington said, and I thought it was pretty apt, this team now is kind of good enough to where they're playing down to bad teams. Like there's a clear difference in the hierarchy. We're not a bad team. And we saw this team kind of come out a little bit lackadaisical in the first half, was down, 2, I think, at half, and then fought back at the end of the game and ended up taking home the win. But it was a situation where, we saw a team that it was on a winning streak and decided to turn it on. And we saw a totally different team. Alfonso McKinney was unfortunately the player that stops the other highlight of the game. Alfonso McKinney also a plus 20 in this game. Just had an insane game, and I feel like kind of might be the kryptonite to what we hope to be the awesome Jaren Ja combo, which is like a super hyper athletic long big man that can just kind of roam around and stop Ja's penetration. And then I don't know, he was everywhere, and you could tell that the guys didn't know how to figure him out. We figured out Kevin Love because he's not very mobile, but when we have a guy like that can just roam around, it was tough on Ja and Jaren to get into their flow, I noticed. But Ja drove into the paint. Larry Nance walled up, and then Ja was, he was already at this point head near the rim. He was going to dunk the ball, but then once Larry Nance walled up, he realized that the only thing he could do was pass it. Because his body was contorted in a way that he was facing the rim, he literally flipped around and then delivered a behind the back pass to Jaren, who went up and almost finished the dunk, but then McKinney fucked that up. Either way, those two highlight moments I think are kind of like little microcosms about how exciting the season's been. And otherwise, everyone had a pretty good game. I don't think there was anyone that was notably bad. Colin Sexton had a really good game for the Cavs. I noticed he was just hitting every shot. Was not impressed by Darius Garland, but they played the shit out of their rookies over there. And Matthew Dellavedova, forgot he played basketball. Terrible shot on that guy. But no, it was a fun night. It was a fun night for Murray State. It was a fun night for Grind City.
Cool, I'm back. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but yep. So just hop right back in and guess where you guys have what you've covered so far.
You were about to talk about the Pelicans.
Yeah. So
no one knew you were gone.
Oh man, y'all didn't even tell anyone. Dang.
No, I drew a stick figure of you on your little cubicle thing, so we couldn't
good.
tell. Yeah.
So that was the cover photo for me. That's good. Mm-hmm. All right, Pelicans. So first quarter wasn't too bad. Grizzlies hung in there. Only down 1 point through one quarter, but second quarter was just pretty tough to swallow. New Orleans scored 38 points compared to Memphis's 20. Memphis went ice cold. Drew Holiday couldn't miss for the game. He was 7 of 10 from beyond the arc with 36 points. That was tough. We threw a lot of different guys at him, but he was just hitting. He was hitting over. He dropped off Melton, Dylan Brooks, and they weren't they were all challenge shots. They were contested. They weren't gimmies. They weren't open 3-point shots like we were giving Nicola Melli. So that guy, he hit a 3 3-pointers because Jonas just cannot get out of the paint. Like he's like, this is where I play defense. I can't leave here, and that's probably something to watch out for. Is Memphis really struggling when other teams have fives that can stretch the floor? That makes it really challenging for Jonas, just because he's not super mobile on the defensive end. So that was challenging and kind of a frustrating area. Also, Brandon Ingram had 25 points, and pretty much those three guys just lit us up. For the game, New Orleans hit 21 three-pointers of 48, so shot 44% from beyond the arc compared to, Memphis's 27%. That's pretty much the moral of the story. Memphis made 9 of 33 compared to 21 of 48. So Memphis, very hard for them to beat anyone when they shoot that poorly from beyond the arc. But you knew a game like that was going to have to come, so it just kind of sucked that it was the TNT game in prime time. And the game itself just did not have a whole lot of flow. For the most part, the most exciting thing from the people in the stands was the Grizz grannies and grandpas. That got way more of a cheer than anything that happened on the basketball court, which was kind of sad when that happened. But I turned to Sam and I was like, dude, that was the loudest this place has been. Just with that.
Oh, and until the Anthony Melton tried to bring us back.
Yeah, in the fourth quarter at the very end, some of the Grizzlies started playing, including Ja Morant. I want to say he was one of 7 for the first three quarters, and in the last quarter he was 4 of 7. So he started playing in the fourth, but for the most part he was kind of invisible the whole game. He wasn't really getting much done, and up until the fourth quarter, Dilly Buckets was pretty much holding down the offensive end of things. 12 of 25 from the field, 31 points. He took some forced shots, but honestly, the offense kind of started to look like the Tigers' offense a little bit. There was a lot of standing around on occasion, and Dylan kind of took it into his own hands, as he is not afraid to do, and put up some ill-advised shots, but also hit a lot of shots, but really wanted the lone bright spots. And
can we talk about Dylan's response to reporters after the game when they brought up the stat about him scoring more than 20 points in a game and the Grizzlies had won whatever it was, 12 or something, 13 or something, and we lost, and he said, and I scored 30.
No,
I couldn't tell if that was just him wanting to be accurate, or whether that was him saying the stat still lives, or whether he was just being a Dylan Brooks type
I think he was, make sure you count all my points.
Yeah.
He had 31, so hopefully he didn't short himself.
Yeah, actually, he said he was wrong. Give him that extra one.
Every point's going to go towards that re-upping of his contract this summer.
Yeah, I would like to point out, too, that during the lineup when, Dylan starts and it says year 3 out of Oregon, Zach pointed out that his plan is to have one child every year he's in the NBA. So shout out Dylan.
He's well on his way.
Consistency is key. And, if that's part of your preseason prep, then, my dude, go ahead. You're about to get paid. So you can pay that child support.
Yeah, I mean, Dylan was great until we had got it within 5 and he jacked a shot immediately down the court. It was 2 minutes left and there's plenty of time. He jacked a shot and I was like, damn it, Dylan. But you live and die with him. So,
and the Grizzlies have been living for the past 2-3 weeks off of it, so you knew it was due for.
Yeah, he's been good, man. I mean, I don't know if we're going to talk at some point about re-signing him. I think we are, and we're going to pair him to the Royce O'Neal extension. But I do want to talk about Jay Crowder really quick. And I think at this point we have to ask: is he actually good? Is he good for this team? Does he really help us? Other than, of course, we understand the guys seem to like him. The young guys call him boss man. They're always commenting on his Twitter and his Instagram. You could tell there's some sort of social media interaction. So presumably they like each other. He hasn't been good. I mean, the one game we point to is that Clippers game where he came alive.
He's had 4 of those, I feel like, in 40 games or whatever.
Zach and I tried to remember the games he's actually played a factor in us winning. And the Clippers one we thought of, and then there was one other one. But
the Nets when he hit the game-winning shot.
When he hit the literal game winner.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he was like 0 for that whole game, and he hit that one shot, which obviously he literally won us a game. Okay, but otherwise, I struggle to think about games where he's actually played a factor other than just missing a ton of threes. I mean, he misses a lot of shots. I know he's like kind of brought in the culture of let that shit fly or whatever, but like also like it's not let that shit brick, you know? So it's been tough to watch, and there's one game where he also had a couple steals late and a couple lay-ins, kind of changed. Maybe that Spurs game where he changed a little bit of the momentum. So there's like moments
in the third quarter,
but I just really don't understand how he should have take anyone's minutes. I mean, Dylan Brooks like plays a lot of minutes too, but I really don't know. I'm just throwing it out there, right? Are we sure that he's any good?
I think you're right on the court wise. I don't think this team will suffer if we deal Jay Crowder. I think we're probably even better with Kyle Anderson or DeAnthony Melton soaking up more of those minutes. He had 21 against the Lakers at home. The game that we almost won, remember?
Yeah.
Then he had 20 against the Clippers at home, a game that we lost. Then he had the 27 against the Clippers, and he had 19 against Sacramento. So, yeah, that's about it.
Bro trying to get traded to the – he's trying to
go to the West Coast.
Yeah, right. I mean, if that's the case, he's purposely gaming the system and, like, trying to go to – one of those teams that's like, dude, just play well every time, man. Like,
nah, he's just streaky. He can't help it.
I know. Okay.
You remember when he got traded to Cleveland and he sucked? I mean, half of that was because he's streaky as hell, and half of that is because he still hated LeBron in Cleveland and just was like spiteful about being on the team before he got traded to Utah, I think. But that's just who he is, and he's still a coveted role player.
TJ from Twitter wants to point out that Bossman, maybe one of his biggest accomplishments was getting Tristan Thompson ejected by walking.
Oh, Tristan Thompson thought that was a Kardashian walking by him, didn't he? Smack that ass. Tristan Thompson, what the hell? That was awesome.
That was wild.
I mean, it was a dick move. He was definitely being a dick. He wasn't trying to say, like, you've been playing good, Jay, or something like that, because they've been going back and forth all game, talking, staring each other down. But, Jay did contribute to that, so appreciate that.
A couple of key numbers on Crowder that stuck out to me is that from the field, he's only shooting 37%, and from three, 29% on over 6 attempts per game. So that's not great.
The thing that stands out to me is, I mean, yeah, those are terrible stats too, but he just like eye test wise, and I'm the eye test. I'm the big picture guy. You guys, good with the stats, and I come in with the big picture. Like we have a guard that distributes extremely well, like better than top 10 distributor in the NBA. And I don't have any stats for that, but I'm a big picture guy, so he's a top 10 distributor. So a lot of guys, including Dylan, I think has started to play better is because he gets so many good looks, like in the pocket, in rhythm threes. Once Ja drives in, collapses the defense, delivers the pass like right to their shooting pocket, and you'd think that Jay would take more of those shots. But most of his threes are these weird dribble handoff where he just like his man is kind of fighting over the screen and he shoots it anyway, as if to get himself going. And it's like, dude, you don't have to do that, like. A lot of his shots are just really bad threes. I know we roast Dylan a lot for that, but to be honest with you, like
he makes some of them.
He makes some of them. Like Jay doesn't make any of them. And I mean, I would love to know how many of the threes he's made are like assisted, or like good, the kind of threes we want our 3-and-D wing to take. But there's
a stat for that.
Yeah, you can look that up, actually.
Yeah, I'm saying I would love to know that. I'm not going to look that up.
You would love someone else. Gotcha.
Correct. I need you to be on stats guy. I need you to go and data mine, put on your hat, your little mining hat, and turn the light on and get down there in Basketball Reference or wherever you find this stuff. And
I would go to NBA stats for that one.
Well, that's exactly why you're the stats guy, and I'm the big picture guy.
Oh, boy. All right. So, in some news last week, Tony Allen was announced. Not really announced, but it came out that he's going to be a player development coach for the Hustle. What do you guys think about that?
They had a press release. That's an announcement.
Oh, was there a press release? Okay, yeah, I missed that.
It's legit. He didn't just start showing up to Hustle practice. Like, it's legit.
They just gave him some swag, and he just pretends like he works there. It's cool, man. I mean, obviously, like it's good to have him around the team now in an official capacity as well, not just on Verno's show. And so, if anyone can teach, is he player development? Is that what he is?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't actually. Is there a similar position for the Grizzlies? Is that
Oh yeah,
Tayshaun?
yeah. No, Tayshaun's in the front office. Player development guys are usually unknown. They're like below assistant coaches for the most part. They're
Okay.
like guys working to become assistant coaches.
Okay. So he's like kind
Usually
of on the
younger
coach path.
guys, but yeah,
Yeah. Former players is another kind of avenue too.
exactly.
But yeah, no, he he's obviously one of the toughest guys and commands respect with any sort of NBA circles. We've seen him kind of be in the media too. He's been on Get Up a couple times. We've seen him on NBA TV. They had him on the broadcast for the Rockets game. So I think he's figuring out his post playing career and seems to be excelling. So shout out Tony.
Yeah, and I mean the guy's just got a passion for the game that you can feel, and him being around the team. Like even when he's just at the Grizzlies games, it seems like he brings another energy into FedEx Forum. That grindhouse type of energy almost. Anytime he's shown on the jumbotron, or even like he's a spectacle on his own during the game. Just to watch him flail his arms and like cheer for the team. Or if somebody gets dunked on, like he's acts like he's at a street ball game in Rucker Park. Just and like you mentioned, all the media. It's great that he's officially back associated with the Grizzlies organization. It's just a great marketing move, honestly, for the Grizzlies, and a great move basketball wise. We'll see what he becomes as a coach. We know that he's been coaching in these NBA top 100 camps for several years while he was playing. He recently talked to the NBA, PA, and league offices about starting a elite defensive camp for top high school players. Like Kobe has an offensive skills camp, so Tony's trying to do the same thing with defense. So he's well connected. He does have little experience in these camp type situations, and I'm excited to see what he brings as a coach. And if he's the assistant coach in 10 years for the Grizzlies, or he's the color commentator, I'd be happy with either one.
Yeah, and you mentioned that like Memphis Grizzlies, he's exciting. I think that's just Memphis basketball in general. He was at a Tigers game and they put the jumbotron on him, and no less reaction than if it was a Grizzlies game. So he is like truly embodying Memphis basketball. So it's great to have him in a official capacity.
He told the story about Tom Crean like came up to him and got real hype and gave him a hard ass high five, and Tony didn't know who the hell he was. He's like looking at his security guy, like, who the hell is this dude?
He says something about like he shows his players film of Tony every day or something, which is like the kind of stuff that Tom Crean would say and definitely not do. Like he probably has never done that ever, but like anyway, yeah.
Mentioned him one time, like to one person at lunch or something.
Yeah, exactly. Every day I showed like they're all like in the film room watching Tony Allen highlights. They didn't look like it, but they beat our ass.
Yeah.
So Mason, you talked about this a couple weeks ago, or you called it or suggested it, that Ja officially came out and said he is not going to do the slam dunk contest, even though he was extended an offer. That's kind of what you said he probably should do. So that's where we are.
Yeah, I agree with that. Mason, speak on the kind of the dunk contest, the aura around it in the league, and sort of why this might have been a good move to not do that. While we understand he would be an exciting dunker, and it's good to have your young guys at All-Star Weekend.
I mean, the main thing is just that superstars don't participate in the dunk contest anymore. And he's a superstar, so he shouldn't participate in the dunk contest. I mean, you've got a washed-up Dwight Howard participating, and then you've kind of got these gimmicky guys like Derrick Jones Jr., who they try to get to participate every year, who can dunk the hell out of the ball, but he's not a superstar-level player, although he is becoming a really solid role player for the Heat. So it just didn't make sense for him to do it. I'm not sure where like the injury stuff came from, because I can't think of anyone who's gotten hurt participating in the dunk contest in the past. But it does, if you want to win, which Ja probably would, you do have to put in extra reps in practice. And I mean, I'm sure Ja dunks before and after practice all the time, but just the amount of energy you have to exert to do some of those dunks that he would be trying in the slam dunk contest, it's just not worth it, especially because he's going to be participating in the Rising Stars game.
Yeah.
And potentially even in the All-Star game, if the coaches were to vote him in. I mean, I think that's highly unlikely, but it is not out of the question. A couple injuries here and there. We still got a few weeks. Anything can happen when it comes to that. So superstars don't do the dunk contest. I mean, really some of the best dunk contests around the world are not even in the NBA. It's like some of these guys off the street at Venice Beach or whatever who can just jump insanely high and all they do is practice dunking.
Yeah, I think there will be a pretty good entertainment value in the Rising Stars. Like, he's going to have several highlight reel dunks, I would imagine.
Yeah. I mean, that game is going to be fun as hell. That's probably going to be one of the better Rising Stars games.
I hope so. Last year, I tried to watch it. It was pretty tough to watch. Jaren didn't really play much, so it was kind of...
Yeah, they didn't really like use his strength. He wasn't really shooting it like he is this season yet either. At that point.
He's going to let it fly this year.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be like, I assume that him and Ja will start, and so that would be awesome to see them. Maybe that we'll get some synergy to leave the Grizzlies and go into that team. I think, I mean, like, look at Levine and Gordon. You know, that the most recent notably good dunk contest. Two guys that, like, Gordon especially, you thought he was going to be a future All-Star, and kind of injuries have derailed that. There's almost some sort of weird, like, bad luck thing when you're in the dunk contest now. It's like, you know, Levine, I don't think his career's progressed like how he would like it to. There's always these questions.
Well.
Yeah, there's always these questions about whether he, you know, is an all-star. And like there's some, and people with him, they always associate him with that dunk contest and not with like how he's putting up 25 a game and like playing really fucking well as a player. But there's something about it that I think is just like, it kind of discredits you from the get-go. And I'm sure Ja's team was like, I mean, you know, do what you want, dude, but here's like kind of what we think about it, his media team and all that. So
yeah,
shouts to them, because that's if he asked me what he should have done, I would have said this, and it sounds like we would have as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically like marketing 101. You know, you can't sell yourself short. But to Gordon and Levine's credit, that was the best dunk contest in like recent memory because it was fucking awesome.
Since I mean, in the past 10 years of watching it, yeah, I mean, I didn't watch obviously the Vince Carter one. Like, I don't remember that. Like, I've seen footage of it after the fact, but like that, I guess that those two are kind of the ones that people talk about.
Yeah,
but yeah, dunk contest was
awesome. Will Barton was in that one too. Got put out in the first round.
Shit, tough year to be in it, man.
Yeah. Well, the difference was those guys put in a lot of work, it seemed like, for their first couple of dunks, and Thrill just showed up to dunk.
So along with the Grizzlies' recent success has come a lot of, I don't know if you want to call them bandwagon fans, but more fans joining the Grizzlies Nation or becoming more interested in the Grizzlies. Just on social media, there's a lot more of a buzz. Obviously, Ja is the main component to that. But by my count, just kind of perusing through Reddit, found some interesting stories. We got East Coast Canada, some guy that liked the Nets, now Grizzlies fan, someone that followed Westbrook, someone from Nashville, someone in Germany, someone who is a Knicks fan is bailing on them, coming to be a Memphis fan. Don't bring that juju over here, though. I don't want to be associated with that necessarily, but it's kind of cool that people are coming from all over, noticing the Grizzlies and starting to follow us. Hopefully us specifically, as in like this podcast right here, but mainly the Grizzlies.
Yeah, man. That's awesome.
So Sam, do you have any hard feelings about Zion? What's so funny?
I was wondering what that was in the.
I just wanted to point out
in the document. Yeah, no,
in the outline.
Yeah, okay. So Zion did not play against Memphis. He is going to play against the Spurs on Wednesday.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that, Sam?
I think it's super awesome that he did that. I think. I tweeted it. Like, I realized that ultimately his employer, the front office, was probably like, dude, don't play. And whatever, like, you got to do that. But the reason behind him not playing was that so he didn't have to play on the road at a team that was, you know, at the time kind of playing their best basketball and some of the best basketball in the league against his fellow rookie phenom. He didn't want to have that be his first game back, him look out of shape or get dunked on by Ja. As it turns out, it would have been a good game to come back. He could have played part in the demolishment of the Grizzlies and maybe one of the worst Ja games we've seen so far. But the reason given initially was that he didn't want to play on national TV. The Pelicans didn't want him to. Well, what the NBA do is they said, like, oh, shit, Zion's coming back. We're going to air like 30 commercials about this one guy like coming to play in a regular season game versus a terrible Spurs team, or terrible for the Spurs, right? Like it's wild, the circus that surrounds this kid. And I mean, even before the game, there were people watching him dunk in Memphis, and he was like kind of talking to fans and whatnot. Obviously, seems like a great kid, but I gotta say, man, this kid, he's a big kid. Like he has visibly gained weight since he's been out, and naturally so, right? I mean, like, you're not playing NBA basketball, you're not burning like 3,000 calories a day.
Sleeping on the bench.
yeah, he's falling asleep on the bench. Like, people making blood sugar jokes. It's hard out here for Zion, and every outfit he's in like is the least flattering outfit that I've ever seen. Like, he wears black and it still looks like he's fat. It's like, dude, that's hard. Like, because black's a slimming color. I'm just worried about him, man. Like, obviously, like, it's in his best interest to continue. It's in the league's best interest for him to be good and keep playing. He was incredible in preseason. But if I got to watch one more highlight of him, like, ripping the ball away from fucking Kevin Knox in Summer League, like, as if that means anything. Like, I don't give a shit about that. Like, he hasn't played a fucking minute of NBA basketball yet. Like, let's wait for him to be good before we crown him like the new, I don't know, whatever, LeBron or whatever. Like, before we hand the keys to the league over.
So are you going to tune in tomorrow?
Absolutely.
So how many games will he have to play before people are? How many good games will he have to play before everyone is like?
If he has a good game
Wednesday,
Wednesday,
he could come back and be a rookie of the year. It's possible.
Yeah. And then
I'm gonna be triggered by that. Not gonna lie,
for sure.
That's gonna really.
Ja would have to be hurt, right?
No, dude.
Yeah.
Yes, that's logically so. But you remember, like, the logic goes out the window when it comes to Zion for some reason. Like, and I think, suddenly the Pelicans are on TV so much and no one cares about the Pelicans, but like just him gets them on TV 30 times.
Yeah.
And that's even just a bad stadium to show, because it's like no one's ever there. So it's not even like a fun, so literally just that one kid it was bringing all this national TV attention. If he starts playing well, which, I mean, there's no reason to think he won't, other than the fact that he needs to get his glucose up or whatever, like, before the game. But he's going to play well, and there's going to be an immediate movement about it. And then we're going to have all his talking heads discussing the amount of games you have to play in order to be considered rookie of the year, just like they do the All-Star game. Some people factor that in, some people don't. But to me, if you don't play half the season, like, there's just no reasonable. And same thing of Ja. Ja had missed and was just starting now, and Zion had the year that Ja has had so far. I'd be like, well, dude, yeah, obviously he's going to win. Like, and that's just the way it is. But I think Zion's going to quickly cause a lot of those talking heads to go back on things they've done before, to figure out a way to creatively sneak him in and make this a two-horse race, which obviously it's in the league's best interest for it to be a two-horse race. I mean,
right.
Like, no one is Ja's right now. He's running away with it. They try to make Kendrick Nunn a thing, and then Ja, like, says on national television, tell him it's my rookie year to lose, or not on national television, but that goes viral. And, I mean, he's literally, like, demolished everyone that's, like, sort of tried to step up and challenge him. So the league hopes that Zion, I think, is what he thought we was.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I'm excited to see Zion. It's crazy that they like had to teach him how to walk.
Dude, I'm telling you, this guy's not gonna he's gonna get hurt, and he's not gonna. You just know it, right? Like,
I mean, it definitely seems like that.
If you're betting, it has to be like what, minus 700 on him having like an awesome career.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not Vegas, man. They just take my money.
Yeah.
But the Pelicans team in general is getting more fun. People are hopping back on the Brandon Ingram bandwagon.
No, Brandon Ingram's fucking nasty.
And the Lonzo Ball bandwagon. And then, I mean, if Drew Holiday is going to just professionally kick ass like he did last night, they're gonna be fighting for that 8th spot with us. It's crazy how quickly a lead in the standings can dissolve. It seemed like just the other day we had like a 2-game lead, and now it's down to a half game over the Spurs. So, man, shit. We gotta get some wins. We got Boston tomorrow, and then at Detroit. So you gotta hope we can split that road trip.
Yeah, D-Rose hooping. We never win in Boston. Like even when they were bad for that like couple years.
Yeah.
When they acquired the treasure chest of picks. It's just one of those things. Like that's just a tough game. I'd love to see these kids go up there and get a win though. I mean the Garden's like one of those historic basketball stadiums.
It's a good young team too. Maybe a couple guys sit out for the Celtics.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, and maybe hopefully Jay Crowder sits out too.
Yeah. Oh man, but you mentioned D-Rose. That I just envision him eating us up in the pick and roll
for sure.
And JB standing under the basket, like D-Rose just floating it right in all night.
That's all he's been doing too. He's been so good. Like he's been getting past everyone at will. He is going to torture Ja for sure. And yeah, you're right. He's going to have like that 8-foot floater, like buckets all night.
Yeah,
probably going to. Well, they got Drummond, right? So maybe maybe there's like some sort of matchup equivalence there. You know, maybe they won't play like small ball and torch us like the Pellies did, but we'll see.
Yeah, man. Brandon Ingram would be a good fit next to John Jaren.
He sure would, man.
The best of fits, I think.
Let's offer him that money and then not get him, but still let's offer him. Let's start making swings. Let's show the young guys we're trying to make moves for him. I feel like that matters.
So you mentioned playoffs. Playoffs? So 538 now has us up from 8% chance to 10% chance to make the playoffs.
Ooh,
so we mentioned a couple weeks ago throughout the 8%, but it's now up to 10%.
Yeah, it's good.
And contract news, Royce O'Neal of the Jazz, he agreed to a 4-year, $36 million contract extension. And so he...
Wasn't it 36?
What'd I say?
You said 46.
Oh, yeah, 36. So $9 million a year for 4 years. And a lot of people are saying that this is something that we should look at, kind of setting a precedent for what the Grizzlies are going to have to pay for Dylan Brooks this summer. It's kind of setting a base expectation, which if you'd asked us at the beginning of the year, which I think we did, and we talked about it, we were talking in that mid-level exception range is what we'd want to pay Dylan, which is somewhere in that like 8 to 10. Well, he's played
gone.
Yeah, he's played himself way above that. And Royce O'Neal, who's currently averaging 6 and 5 in little under 30 minutes per night, is about to get
crazy.
Is going to get $9 million.
We're gonna have to pay Dylan like a max, dude.
So
yeah, Royce has been solid when he's in the starting lineup, but he ain't been busting people's ass like Dylan. Like
Dylan's, yeah, I mean,
shit.
And that, I mean, I think this is sort of the segue into like, we're going to have to pay Dylan. We all know it. I mean, a lot of people, though, while the three of us have sort of resigned ourselves to it because we focus on these contracts so much that when we see numbers like that, it's not like, oh, fuck to us as much as maybe other people. But I will say just kind of the general consensus of the fans are like, we can't pay Dylan. He's a ball stopper. He's not worth, 15, 60 million a year, whatever the numbers that are being thrown out there are. And my retort, I think all three of our retorts to that is like, we always complain about not having a guy that can shoot the three like Dylan does and has been this year in a system that's like working in favor of his style of basketball. He plays fucking hard every night. Like we see the guys mail it in versus the Pellies, and he's the only guy out there trying or trying to will his team to a win. That level of intensity that he plays with often leads to those bad possessions, but at least it comes from a good place, seemingly, So that I think you have to, while we have this guy on our team, he's 23, 24 years old, a 4 or 5 year deal. We'll have him for the entirety of his prime. He's honestly probably our best defender as well. So besides like to play significant minutes, like D'Anthony Melton, arguably, the best defender pound for pound and height. But you know what I mean? So I think we just need to go ahead and get realistic about the fact that we have cap space and we need to pay guys that are playing well for us and enjoy playing with the personnel that we have. And obviously what's working now is this group, and there's no reason to, if we can't do it, if we can keep continuity.
I think that's well said. Earlier today we got, I guess this is like part of Twitter Corner. This will be the highlight of Twitter Corner today. Okay.
All right,
so Sam, you sent this to us today. Kirk Goldsberry, who famously wrote Sprawl Ball about how a basketball book, a lot of charts about how the league is changing to be more of a 3-point game. Tweeted out a chart of Jaren Jackson Jr.'s shooting. Let's see. And we've talked about how incredible Jaren is, right? And so everyone's noticed it. He's one of the top 4 jump shooters as of a couple weeks ago. And he's 20 years old. He's shooting 45% from one of the corners, 45% from the top of the key, 30 from the other corner, and 31 and 47 from the wings. Which, Sam, interesting enough, you asked me yesterday, like, what was Jaren's strength? Where did he shoot the best from? So Kirk heard us talking up there in the stands of the forum, sent us out a nice, beautiful spray chart today.
Yeah.
So now we know.
That
Top
was
of the key, left corner, he's money.
Yeah, that was a kind of a funny thing I discovered today, like based on asking that question yesterday. It was because he's one of the guys that has now reached the level of when he shoots the ball, I fully expect it to go in. There aren't a lot of guys I feel that way about in the league right now with Steph out and Clay out. I mean, Harden's one. Gosh, who else is one? Like Bogdanovich maybe, but Buddy Hield. I don't know. Like not a lot of guys, but Jaren's one of them.
Yeah, he's putting up over 6 threes a game at 40%. Last year, he put up 2.5 at 35%. So, I mean, just incredible strides.
Yeah, I mean, if we even get a half of that jump every year until he's in his prime at 27, 28, then he's going to be like a 50% three-point shooter at a ridiculous volume.
Yeah.
But, inevitably he'll fall off at some point. But, man, he's playing with a confidence now that someone's inspired in him. And I don't know who, but whoever it was, shouts to you.
Yeah, I mean, all that red on Kirk's little graph thing, you don't need to say anything more than that. Like, shit's impressive what he's doing. A great compliment to Ja, who likes to drive and kick. And, I mean, honestly, he gets Jaren open. Like, Ja just does a great job of driving at your defender and making them make a decision. And if they don't commit to stopping Ja, he's going to score. If they do commit to stopping Ja, he's going to get it to you. So you better be ready to let it fucking fly.
Yeah, the Jaren, I think one of the top of the key percentage is so high because often we run so many kind of dribble handoffs to him or like shovel passes when he's a trailer. And so he takes that shot at the top of the key while his man who's going to guard him is still in the paint, expecting him to take his proper quote unquote proper spot as the 4 or 5, depending on the lineup we're playing. So he shoots a lot of threes as the trailer, and I feel like those are the ones that I'm most confident in. He makes so many of those, and I mean that's fantastic when he's probably on the defensive end, having made a big play. We're out running. And then he's trailing, and then Josh shovels it to him for a 3. So he gives him that opportunity to make that two-way impact, which is the unicorn style of basketball that he plays.
Yeah, those are huge momentum plays too.
Yeah, when he blocks a shot, and then they're out running, and he comes back for the shovel pass to the 3. I mean, that's a backbreaker. It's a 5-point swing. And then I feel like after that, he has a couple more big plays. I mean, he loves that play. Like he loves that trailing 3.
Yep. Foul issues kind of turtle heading a little bit these last couple of games. You guys have been at those games. Y'all worried about the fouls coming back?
Nah, the mood has sort of swung. Like it's not he doesn't seem as affected by it. I don't know how it looks on TV, but it really doesn't feel that way in the stadium. I don't anticipate it ever like causing us to win or lose a game like I was at the beginning of the season. And I think his attitude towards us has been entirely different. And frankly, they're just not calling him the same way. So I don't know what happened. I don't know if he started to get more respect from the officials or what, but he's not getting rooked anymore. Like he really isn't. I mean, sometimes he legitimately is like he can't just wall up. Like he has to bring his arms down. Anytime, one thing that Zach and I noticed was that anytime he's like defending a guy like face to face, the guy's facing up on him and drives at him, that's when he gets most of his fouls. But if he gets beat, he almost always makes the right decision, whether it be like just kind of letting the guy score without fouling or blocking the shot from behind, because timing's way better from behind when he's like either chasing down a block or like coming from behind his guy who's laying it in and just like putting his long ass arms up there. But when the guy's coming at him, he feels the need to like, I don't know, bring his arms down. It's clearly a reflex thing, which I hope gets better with time. Are you worried about it?
No, he does literally lead the league in personal fouls with 173. I noticed that.
Hey, at least he ain't missed a lot of games.
No, not far behind him is Dylan, but it doesn't seem Like when Dylan gets in foul trouble, it doesn't seem to impact his game at all. He still plays the same, and he like stays in there. Jenkins doesn't pull him out, which he kept him in after he got his 5th foul the other day, and Jaren kind of regained some confidence.
Dylan's like the type of dude you got to fight at the rec center because like he's just hacking too hard. Like you're like, bro, chill out, and then he just hits you one more time, and like you just drop the ball and swing on him. Like that's all you can do with those guys.
Yeah, he seems like a pest out there. The thing about the only worrisome thing about Jaren is that Jaren are still basically playing like, tops 30 minutes a game. They're playing a lot of, 28, 26-minute games. Ja, we've seen his minutes increase a little bit, but, for those that don't know, the usual NBA starter minutes, kind of the superstar minutes and the minutes we eventually want to see them play around 36 to 38 a game. So it would matter if Jaren's playing that much. He's probably fouling out half the games he plays in. If we want him to play the minutes we need him to play to be a team that we can be, he really does have to figure that out. But he's 20. His 3-point jump has made it, an insane jump, so we can feel good about that. We'll see. I mean, it's something to monitor, right? It's by far his biggest flaw, so that's something that we'll focus on as fans.
Yeah, his per 36 personal fouls are 5.3.
God,
so he would essentially foul out most games if that were the case.
Yeah, that's like you round it up or round it down, right? So like that's 50-50 almost.
Yeah, so looking forward to the rest of the season before All-Star break and beyond. Which teams behind us scare you the most, Zach, in this playoff race for 8th?
For 8th, let's see. I'm looking right now. Really, it could be the Pelicans. Just after seeing Brandon Ingram go off against the Jazz the other day, that was a pretty impressive performance. And they got Holiday back, and he already went off against us. Zion's like the wild card. He could push him over the edge, but right now they're 3.5 games back of us. Really not that far, like we talked about. Only 3 wins behind us. So that Pelicans team kind of scares me.
What about you, Sam?
Yeah, Pelicans and then the Spurs too. I mean, you can't ever count out Pop, and they have 2 vets on the team that are changing their game. We saw LaMarcus Aldridge start bombing from 3 once he realized there was a line out there that gave him more points, and so that they're. I mean, I'll wait until they miss the playoffs, which they haven't in like fucking 2 decades. Smart money says, why would they miss again? But yeah, the Pelicans looked like every bit as good of a team as we thought they could be versus us. Certainly as good as us, and that was before they got their superstar rookie back, who probably will have to play back into shape and play back into effectiveness. But at some point, he's going to be a factor, and we can only assume a positive one.
So no love for the Suns or Blazers from either of you.
Don't believe in either of those. No, don't believe in the Suns. Don't believe in the Kings. The Blazers, I think if they make a move before this trade deadline that shit, I don't know what that looks like, but shakes them up because whatever's working now or whatever's doing now is not working. Then maybe, but I'm not scared of the Blazers for some reason.
Yeah, I don't have faith in the Suns. I just don't think that I don't think they're built to be a playoff team. They have to have so many things go right for them and so many guys play really well. I don't see that happening. That's how the season started, but here we are sitting halfway through, and they're 7 games under 500.
Yeah, just don't play any defense. Whereas us in our kind of like streak, we were I think 14th in defensive efficiency and top 10 in offense. So it's not like we were just winning because we were scoring a shit ton of points. Albeit we were, we were also playing top half of the league defense. And I don't know if the Suns have ever been out of the bottom 5 teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Dame could get hot enough to carry the team to 8th. He did just come off taking a team to the Western Conference Finals pretty much, but that will depend on, like you said, any impending moves. A lot of the Blazers writers and bloggers seem to say that they were like throwing in the towel when they traded Tolliver and whoever they just traded to Sacramento to get Trevor Ariza and
Kent Bazemore.
Yeah, Ken Bazemore. That's who I was looking for. Yeah. So, and Trevor Ariza is not Trevor Ariza from 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's not like the trade we were hoping to make during the grit and grind days. It's basically a money saving move for Portland, and they still need to shed some salary to get under the luxury tax. So they might not be, but Dame is probably the best player on any of the teams and the most capable of getting hot. But yeah, the Pelicans, man, I think they're going to be good. Brandon Ingram is turning into a superstar. So, and they're just deep, man. They got a lot of players.
Yeah, they have the Chris Vernon old adage, that they have a lot of guys that don't suck.
Yeah.
And so that, inevitably, like when you could roll out 9 guys in a rotation that are solid NBA players and, played all those years in the Lakers, got all those minutes of experience. You see what happened. Like they just played really well.
And the NBA is clamoring for the Zion leads Pelicans to 8
fuck,
seed.
dude. Yeah. The narrative is writing itself. Like, and so any sort of a ref sort of situations I could see happening. And I would assume that Zion's going to get a very favorable whistle when the second his foot touches the court. We'll see. I'm pretty cynical about the Zion being champion before he's actually played anything thing. But
yeah. I believe we still have 3 matchups with them. So we can take care of our own with them. I know.
I would like to get the tiebreakers. The tiebreakers with these teams become very important. Like all of the teams we just named. I mean, I think that those are of critical fucking importance this year, whereas some of the years past not as much. But yeah, I think those games become huge. Those games versus those teams, which makes it more fun for us as spectators.
Mason, have you gone through Grizzlies opponents and their rankings or their win percentages through the All-Star break?
I did. So there's 11 games before the All-Star break, and 4 of those games are against teams above 500. So I think we got Boston, Denver, and then 2 more. And 7 of those 11 games are on the road. So, but they're against below 500 teams. So this is kind of where we're going to figure out what we're really made of. Was this winning streak a mirage, or have we actually built on something? We saw what happened when shots didn't fall against the Pelicans. They took advantage, albeit they are better than some of these teams. But we get to play them in New Orleans. Them in Portland before the All-Star break. So that's 2 huge games. So 11 games before the All-Star break. This feels like a swinging point of the season where we either pick up some wins on the road and maybe knock off 1 or 2 of these playoff teams, or we see our dive back down in the standings as some of these other teams start to make their run.
Yep, it's a good time to see what we're made of, like you said. All right, guys, anything else?
Oh, man.
Cool. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Backdoor Cut Show. You can find us on the Barn Burner Podcast Network, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your shows. Also, check out the-barnburner.com, and you can find articles and more podcasts around basketball, movies, and so much more. Until next time, we'll see you later. Go Grizzlies.
Peace.